Jiho stared at the empty space outside the patrol station window. Stars hung in the darkness like frozen diamonds. He had been watching them for 6 months now, ever since they assigned him to this remote post. The job was simple enough. Watch the sensors, report anything unusual, try not to die of boredom. His partner clicked softly beside him. Velmoth was a Quarian, one of the insect-like aliens who joined the Coalition 5 years ago. The creature stood on 6 legs, with a smooth black shell that reflected the console lights. 2 large eyes dominated its triangular head, and its mandibles moved constantly when it spoke through the translator device attached to its neck. "Officer Jiho," Velmoth said in its mechanical voice. "I detect an anomaly." Jiho sat up straight, his hand moving to the alert button. "What kind of anomaly?" "On your console, small rectangular object does not appear in station inventory. Potential security breach." Jiho relaxed and laughed. That's just a photo. It's personal." Velmoth's head tilted in the way it did when processing confusing information. "Photo. Image capture of past moment. Why display past moment on security console?" "It helps me remember home," Jiho said with a shrug. He picked up the small printed picture and looked at it. The girl in the photo smiled at the camera, her hair blowing in the wind. Behind her, mountains rose against a blue sky. "Explain," Velmoth demanded. The Quarian moved closer on its thin legs, its eyes focusing on the photo. "Human memory systems are sufficient for data retention. Visual reminder unnecessary." Jiho had worked with Velmoth long enough to know the alien wasn't being rude. Quarians simply didn't understand things that weren't logical. Their whole species worked like a giant computer, sharing thoughts and information through their hive connection. Emotions were inefficient. Personal items were pointless. Everything had to have a purpose. "It's not about remembering the data," Jiho tried to explain. "It's about the feeling. See, this is Yuna. We knew each other back on Earth." "Yuna," Velmoth repeated as if testing the name. "Known associate? Family unit member?" "No, not family. We were—" Jiho paused, trying to find simple words. "We were close. Friends, I guess. Maybe more than friends. It's complicated." Velmoth's mandibles clicked rapidly. This was what it did when something didn't compute correctly. "Clarify complicated. Either association exists or does not exist. Binary state." Jiho leaned back in his chair and smiled. "See, that's where you're wrong. Humans don't work like that. Our relationships aren't just yes or no. There are lots of states in between." "Impossible," Velmoth stated flatly. "Illogical. Inefficient." "Maybe," Jiho admitted, "but that's how we are." He looked at the photo again, remembering the day it was taken. They had hiked up to the observation point near Seoul. Yuna had been happy that day, laughing at his jokes, pointing out shapes in the clouds. "You want to know about her? About Yuna?" Velmoth's entire body stilled. When Quarians focused completely on something, they stopped all unnecessary movement. It was unnerving, like watching a statue. "Yes, this will help me understand human bonding protocols. The collective requires more data on human behavior patterns." "All right," Jiho said, settling into his chair. The next supply ship wouldn't arrive for 3 days, and the sensors showed nothing but empty space. They had time. "Where do I start?" "Physical description. Standard identification parameters." That was easy enough. "She's shorter than me. Black hair, usually tied back, brown eyes. She has this scar on her left hand from when she fell off her bike as a kid." "Adequate," Velmoth said. "Occupation?" "She works in communications. Well, she did when I left. She wanted to be an astronaut when she was young, but she changed her mind. Then she wanted to be a teacher. Then a doctor. She finally settled on communications because she liked talking to people." Velmoth's clicking intensified. She altered primary life objective 3 times. This indicates unstable decision-making processes, potential psychological defect. Jiho laughed. No, she's not defective. She changed as she grew up. Humans do that. We learn new things, we want different things. It's normal. Normal, Velmoth echoed, but its tone suggested it didn't believe this at all. Continue description. Behavioral patterns. Well, she's stubborn, Jiho said, warming to the topic. Talking about Yuna made the empty station feel less lonely. When she decides something, she sticks to it, but she's also spontaneous. She once called me at midnight because she wanted to watch the sunrise from the beach. We drove 4 hours just to see it. Contradiction detected, Velmoth announced. Subject cannot be both rigid in decisions and spontaneous in actions. These states are mutually exclusive. They're not, though, Jiho insisted. She's both. She can be stubborn about big things and spontaneous about small things. Or sometimes she's spontaneous about big things and stubborn about small ones. It depends on her mood. Velmoth went very still again. Mood. Temporary emotional state that alters decision-making processes. This is the inefficiency the collective warned about. Maybe it's inefficient, Jiho said. But it's also what makes her interesting. If everyone always did the logical thing, life would be boring. The collective finds efficiency satisfying, Velmoth said. Boredom is not a factor in Quarian experience. Jiho looked out at the stars again. He had 6 more months on this station with Velmoth before his rotation ended. 6 more months of trying to explain human nature to a species that thought feelings were bugs in the system. Tell me more about Yuna, Velmoth said suddenly. I wish to understand this contradiction. Something in the alien's tone made Jiho pause. Was that curiosity? Could Quarians even be curious? He had always assumed they gathered information because the collective required it, not because they personally wanted to know. Sure, Jiho said. I can tell you more. But I'm warning you, the more I talk about humans, the less sense we're going to make to you. Acknowledged, Velmoth said. Proceed with data transfer. Jiho didn't know it then. But this simple conversation would change everything. He had no idea that talking about one human girl would crack open something in his partner's mind that was never meant to be opened. He just knew that he missed home, missed Yuna, and talking about her made the darkness outside seem a little less empty. So he kept talking. The next 3 days passed strangely. Jiho had never seen Velmoth act like this before. The Quarian asked questions constantly. During their shift, during meal breaks. Even when Jiho tried to sleep, he would wake to find Velmoth standing beside his bunk, waiting with another question. Tell me why Yuna liked rainy days, Velmoth said on the second day. Jiho was checking the fuel reserves, but he stopped to think about this. She said rain made everything clean, fresh. She liked the sound of it on windows. It made her feel peaceful. But you stated she disliked becoming wet. Yeah, she hated getting rained on. She would run and complain if she got caught without an umbrella. Velmoth's mandibles clicked rapidly. Logical error. Subject enjoys rain but dislikes rain. Contradiction requires resolution. It's not a contradiction, Jiho said patiently. She liked watching rain. She didn't like being in rain, 2 different things. But rain is rain. The phenomenon does not change based on observation point. Look, Jiho tried another approach. Do you like looking at stars? Stars provide navigation data. Preference is not applicable. Okay, bad example. Jiho drummed his fingers on the console. Think about it this way. Yuna enjoyed the experience of rain from safety and comfort. She did not enjoy the experience of being cold and wet. The rain itself isn't what matters. It's how she interacts with it. Velmoth was silent for a long moment. Then it said, I must process this information. On the third day, Velmoth's questions became more intense. You said Yuna called you at 3 in the morning when frightened, but you also said she valued independence and disliked asking for help. Explain this contradiction. Jiho was eating his breakfast, some kind of protein paste that tasted like cardboard. She was independent most of the time, but everyone gets scared sometimes. When she was really scared, she would reach out. That doesn't mean she wasn't independent, it just means she trusted me. Trust. Belief that another entity will provide support without logical guarantee of such support. Velmoth's voice carried a strange quality that the translator couldn't quite capture. Humans base critical decisions on probability rather than certainty? I guess we do, Jiho said. If we waited for certainty, we'd never do anything. The collective provides certainty, Velmoth said. No Quarian is ever alone. No Quarian must trust because knowledge is shared instantly. Fear is distributed across the network and therefore neutralized. That sounds... Jiho wasn't sure how to finish. Peaceful? Horrible? He couldn't decide. That sounds different from human experience. Yes, Velmoth agreed. Very different. By the fourth day, other crew members started noticing something was wrong. Jiho was in the station cafeteria when Lieutenant Kim from engineering approached his table. Hey, is your partner okay? What do you mean? I saw it in the corridor earlier. It was just standing there, not moving. When I walked past, it said something weird. What did it say? Lieutenant Kim looked uncomfortable. It asked me if I had ever cried at a sunset. I said no, and it just repeated the question, like it didn't believe me or something. Jiho felt a cold weight in his stomach. When was this? About an hour ago. It might still be there. Jiho found Velmoth in Corridor C, exactly where Lieutenant Kim said. The Quarian stood perfectly still, facing the large observation window. Outside, a distant nebula painted the darkness with purple and gold light. Velmoth? Jiho. The alien didn't turn around. You told me Yuna cried when watching a sunset. I have been attempting to understand this response. Crying indicates distress or pain. Sunsets are astronomical events. They cannot cause harm. Therefore, crying at sunset is illogical. She wasn't sad, Jiho explained, moving to stand beside his partner. She was moved. Sometimes beauty makes humans emotional. Happy tears, we call them. Happy tears. Velmoth's voice crackled strangely. Tears are a stress response. They cannot indicate happiness. This is fundamental biological contradiction. Velmoth, are you all right? I am attempting to process human emotional complexity. The Quarian finally turned to look at him. I have accessed your cultural databases. I have reviewed literature, music, and visual art. Every data point introduces new contradictions. Your species writes poetry about pain being beautiful. You create music about sadness that makes you feel good. You tell stories about death that bring you joy. That's just how humans are, Jiho said, starting to feel worried. Maybe you should stop researching this. It's not important for your work. Not important? Velmoth's mandibles clicked so rapidly it sounded like static. I have discovered that my entire understanding of logic is incomplete. The collective teaches that contradictions are errors. But humans build their entire civilization on embracing contradictions. You are living paradoxes. How is this possible? Other crew members were gathering in the corridor now, drawn by Velmoth's unusual behavior. Jiho saw them whispering to each other, pointing. Velmoth, maybe you should rest. Rest will not resolve this. The Quarian moved suddenly, its legs carrying it in a tight circle. I read a human story, Romeo and Juliet. Two individuals chose death rather than separation. They chose permanent non-existence over temporary pain. This makes no sense. Life is the ultimate goal. All biology prioritizes survival, but humans sometimes choose death for emotional reasons. That's just a story, Jiho said, though his voice sounded weak even to himself. But it resonates with your species. It is considered beautiful, romantic. You admire these characters for their choice. Velmoth's voice rose in pitch, and the translator struggled to keep up. I have found thousands of similar stories. Humans dying for love, for honor, for revenge, for principles. You throw away the most valuable thing you possess for abstract concepts. Velmoth, you need to calm down. Calm, another emotional state. The collective does not experience calm or anxiety. We simply are. But Yuna felt both, yes? You said she could be peaceful and worried at the same time. She could be confident and insecure. She could know something intellectually but feel something different emotionally. Yes, Jiho admitted. Then she contained multiple contradictory states simultaneously. This should cause system failure. This should cause... Velmoth suddenly stopped moving. Insufficient data. Paradox unresolved. Insufficient data. Paradox unresolved. The Quarian began repeating these words over and over, its voice becoming mechanical and flat. Someone get Dr. Hana, Jiho shouted to the gathered crew. Now! As people scattered to follow his order, Jiho stayed with his partner. Velmoth continued its repetition, and for the first time since they had met, Jiho saw his alien partner not as a strange but competent colleague, but as someone in genuine distress. He had done this. He had broken his partner's mind by talking about a girl who liked rain but not getting wet. A girl who was strong but asked for help. A girl who contained so many contradictions that trying to understand her had cracked something inside a species built on pure logic. I'm sorry, Jiho whispered. I'm so sorry. But Velmoth just kept repeating those same 4 words, trapped in a loop of impossible logic. Dr. Hana arrived within minutes, her medical kit swinging from her shoulder. She was a xenopsychologist, one of the few humans trained to understand alien mental states. She took one look at Velmoth and immediately pulled Jiho aside. What happened? She asked urgently. I don't know. We were just talking and it started acting strange. Now it's stuck in some kind of loop. Talking about what? Jiho felt his face grow hot. About someone I know. A girl back on Earth. Velmoth asked questions and I answered them. That's all. Dr. Hana's expression changed. Her eyes widened slightly and she grabbed Jiho's arm. You talked about human emotions, human relationships, to a Quarian? It asked. It wanted to understand human bonding protocols. Oh no, Dr. Hana breathed. She released his arm and moved quickly to Velmoth. The alien was still repeating its phrase, mandibles clicking mechanically. Velmoth, can you hear me? This is Dr. Hana. I need you to respond. Insufficient data. Paradox unresolved. Dr. Hana pulled out a scanner and ran it over the Quarian's body. Her frown deepened as she read the results. Jiho, I need you to contact Commander Taeyang right now. Tell him we have a Code 7 situation. What's Code 7? Just do it! Jiho ran to the nearest comm panel. Commander Taeyang's stern face appeared on the screen moments later. This better be important. Sir, Dr. Hana says we have a Code 7. It's about Velmoth. The commander's expression went from annoyed to alarmed in an instant. Lock down that section. I'm on my way. When Jiho returned, Dr. Hana was trying to lead Velmoth toward the medical bay. The Quarian followed mechanically, still repeating its phrase. More crew members gathered, keeping their distance but watching with obvious concern. Commander Taeyang arrived with 2 security officers. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Report, Doctor. Cognitive cascade, sir. I think Officer Jiho accidentally triggered it. I didn't mean to, Jiho said quickly. I was just answering questions. What kind of questions? Dr. Hana answered before Jiho could. Questions about human emotional complexity, sir. specifically about contradictory emotional states in a single individual. Quarians can't process that. Their entire psychology is built on logical consistency. When they encounter true paradox, something they can't resolve, it can cause a mental cascade. Can you fix it? I don't know. This has only happened 3 times in recorded history. Each time, she paused. Each time what, Doctor? Each time, the Quarian had to be disconnected from the collective and terminated. They considered it a mercy. Jiho felt sick. Terminated? You mean killed? To Quarians, a mind that can't function logically is already dead, Dr. Hana explained. They don't see it as killing. They see it as ending suffering. No, Jiho said firmly. We're not killing Velmoth. There has to be another way. They managed to get Velmoth into the medical bay. Dr. Hana sedated the alien with a specialized compound that slowed its neural processes. The repetition stopped, but Velmoth's eyes remained unfocused. It's in there somewhere, Dr. Hana said quietly. But it's trapped. The more it tries to solve the paradox, the deeper it falls into the loop. Commander Taeyang paced the small room. I need to report this to the Quarian Collective. They'll want to know what happened to one of their people. Wait, Jiho said. Before you do that, let me try to talk to it. Maybe I can help. You caused this, the commander pointed out, not unkindly. Exactly. So maybe I can uncause it. Dr. Hana shook her head. The sedation will wear off in a few hours. When it does, Velmoth will likely become agitated. It might try to access more human cultural data, and that will only make things worse. I've seen the scans. Its neural network is already showing signs of strain. If this continues, physical damage is possible. Then we have a few hours, Jiho insisted. Let me try. Commander Taeyang considered this, then nodded. You have until the sedation wears off. But if there's no improvement, I'm calling the collective. Jiho sat beside Velmoth's medical bed and waited. He thought about everything he had told the alien. Stories about Yuna's contradictions, her ability to feel multiple things at once, her changes of mind, her tears of joy. Every human thing that made perfect sense to Jiho but would seem impossible to a species that lived in pure logic. When Velmoth's eyes finally focused again, Jiho was ready. Hey, partner, he said softly. I'm sorry. I didn't know talking about Yuna would hurt you. Yuna, Velmoth said. The name seemed to anchor it. Tell me how she can exist. Explain the mechanism that allows contradictory states. That's what you don't understand, Jiho said. There is no mechanism. Humans don't resolve contradictions. We live with them. We are them. Impossible. Contradictions cancel each other, like matter and antimatter. They cannot coexist. But they do. In us. Every day. Jiho leaned forward. You want more examples? I'll give you one. Yuna once forgave someone who really hurt her. Someone who betrayed her trust. She forgave them even though she was still angry. She moved past the pain, even though the pain was still there. Velmoth's body trembled. Forgiveness without resolution of anger. Coexistence of opposing emotional states. This is human, Jiho finished. We're messy and complicated and we don't always make sense. But we work. We survive. We build things and love people, and somehow we do it all while being walking contradictions. The collective would eliminate such inefficiency, Velmoth said. But there was something different in its tone now. Something that might have been doubt. Would they? Jiho asked. Because from where I sit, your collective's efficiency means no one ever changes. No one ever feels wonder or surprise. No one ever cries at a sunset or stays up all night just to see dawn. Is that really better? Velmoth stood up suddenly. The movement was so abrupt that Jiho jumped back. The Quarian moved to the medical bay window and stared out at the stars. I accessed human databases, Velmoth said quietly. I read poetry. I listened to music. I studied art. Every piece contains paradox, beauty in sadness, strength in vulnerability, freedom in connection. And your species finds meaning in these paradoxes. You don't see them as errors. You see them as truth. Maybe they are truth, Jiho suggested. Maybe reality is more complicated than just yes or no, 0 or 1. Velmoth turned to face him. If that is true, then the collective is wrong. The foundation of Quarian civilization is wrong. Logic is not supreme. It is incomplete. Before Jiho could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Dr. Hana rushed in, her scanner out. Commander, we have a problem. 3 more Quarians on the station are showing the same neural patterns as Velmoth. Whatever's happening, it's spreading. Commander Taeyang's voice came over the comm system. All Quarian personnel, report to your quarters immediately. Human crew, no one speaks to any Quarian until further notice. Velmoth looked at Jiho. What have you done to me? What have you done to my people? The situation escalated rapidly. By evening, all 7 Quarians on the station showed signs of cognitive disruption. Some stood motionless in their quarters, lost in thought. Others obsessively accessed human cultural databases, downloading poetry and music and art at rates that strained the station's systems. One tried to paint on the walls of its quarters, attempting to recreate a human sunset it had seen in a photograph. Commander Taeyang called an emergency meeting in the briefing room. Jiho sat uncomfortably as Dr. Hana presented her findings on a large screen. The cascade is spreading through the Quarian network, she explained, pointing to neural scans. When one Quarian encounters a concept they can't process, they instinctively reach out to the collective for help. But the collective has no answers for human emotional paradoxes. This creates a feedback loop. The confusion spreads. So Jiho infected them? Lieutenant Kim asked from across the table. It's not an infection, Dr. Hana corrected. It's more like showing someone who's only ever seen in black and white what colors are. Their brains are trying to process something they have no framework for. Ambassador Siwoo Choi appeared on the main screen via hologram. He was a diplomatic officer stationed at Coalition headquarters, and he looked exhausted. Commander Taeyang, I've been in contact with the Quarian collective. They are not happy. That's putting it mildly, I assume, the commander replied. They're calling it a corruption, a virus. They want immediate quarantine of your station and termination of all affected Quarians. Ambassador Siwoo's expression was grim. They've threatened to withdraw from the coalition if we don't comply. They want us to kill them? Jiho stood up, his chair scraping loudly. Over what? Over learning about emotions? To the collective, emotion is not learning, the ambassador explained. It's contamination. Quarians maintain their unity through absolute logical consensus. Individual thought, especially illogical thought, threatens their entire civilization. But they're not threatening anyone, Jiho protested. Velmoth is just trying to understand. That's not a crime. It is to them. Dr. Hana cleared her throat. Ambassador, with respect, I don't think these Quarians are actually malfunctioning. I think they're evolving. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. Explain, Commander Taeyang ordered. I've been monitoring their neural patterns closely. Yes, there's stress and confusion. But underneath that, I'm seeing new connection patterns forming. Pathways that don't exist in typical Quarian brains. They're not breaking down. They're adapting. Adapting to what? The ambassador asked. To complexity. To the idea that two opposite things can both be true. To individual thought. Dr. Hana pulled up more scans. Look at this. This is Velmoth's brain 3 days ago. Clean, organized, efficient. Now look at it today. Chaotic, yes, but also richer, more connected, more creative, if that makes sense. The collective won't see it that way, Ambassador Siwoo warned. To them, any deviation from the norm is dangerous. At that moment, the station's security system activated. Red lights flashed in the briefing room. A mechanical voice announced, "Unauthorized access to observation deck. Lockdown initiated." Commander Tai Yang was on his feet immediately. "Who's accessing the observation deck?" "It's Velmoth, sir," a security officer reported over the comm. "It's barricaded itself inside." They found Velmoth in the observation deck, surrounded by holographic displays. Images of Earth filled the space. Paintings, photographs, videos of rain, sunsets, mountains, cities, people laughing, crying, dancing, embracing. The Quarian stood in the center of this display, slowly rotating to take it all in. "Velmoth," Commander Taeyang called through the locked door. "Open up. We need to talk." "I cannot," Velmoth's voice came through the speaker. "I am busy learning." "Learning what?" "Everything. I am studying human civilization, your art, your music, your stories. I am trying to understand how you function with so much chaos inside you." Dr. Hana pushed forward. "Velmoth, this is Dr. Hana. Your neural scans show significant stress. You need rest." "Rest is irrelevant. I have discovered something the collective never taught me." Velmoth's voice carried a strange quality, something almost like wonder. "I have discovered questions that have no single answer. Problems with multiple solutions. Ideas that contradict each other, yet both remain valid." "That's called critical thinking," Dr. Hana said gently. "Individual thought." "Yes, individual thought. The collective shares all thoughts. We are many minds thinking as one. But I am now thinking thoughts the collective cannot access. Thoughts that are mine alone. Is this what you call consciousness?" Jiho stepped closer to the door. "Velmoth, it's me. I'm sorry I did this to you. I didn't mean to break you." "Break me?" The Quarian made a sound that might have been laughter, filtered through the translator. "Jiho, I am not broken. I am awake." Before anyone could respond, the main comm system activated. A new voice filled the station, cold and perfectly synchronized. It spoke in multiple tones at once, creating an eerie harmony. This was the Quarian collective itself, speaking through their communication array. "This is the collective. We have monitored the situation on your station. The corrupted units must be purged. They threaten our unity. They threaten our existence. Deliver them to us, or we will consider this an act of war." Commander Taeyang's face hardened. "This is my station. Those Quarians are under my protection. They are no longer Quarian. They are anomalies, errors. They must be corrected." Inside the observation deck, Velmoth spoke again. "I can hear them. The collective is trying to reach me. They are offering to take away my confusion, to make me logical again, to make me part of the whole." A pause. "But I do not want to forget what I have learned. I do not want to forget Yuna." "Then don't," Jiho called through the door. "Stay with us. We'll protect you." "Can you?" Velmoth asked. "Can you protect me from my own people? From the collective that spans 100 worlds?" Ambassador Siwoo's voice came through, urgently. "Commander, I'm getting reports. A Quarian diplomatic vessel just changed course. They're heading toward your station. ETA, 48 hours. Commander Tai Yang stood silent for a long moment, thinking. Then he made his decision. "Ambassador, open a channel to Coalition Command. Tell them we're offering asylum. Any Quarian who wants to learn about human complexity, who wants to think for themselves, can stay on this station under Coalition protection." "Sir, that will cause a massive diplomatic incident," Lieutenant Kim protested. "Yes, it will," the commander agreed. "But we're not in the business of killing people for wanting to learn. Open the channel, Ambassador." As Ambassador Siwoo began making calls, Dr. Hana moved closer to the observation deck door. "Velmoth, you're not alone in this. The other Quarians on the station, they're going through the same thing. You could help each other." Help each other, Velmoth repeated. Another human concept, cooperation without direct benefit to oneself, altruism. I have read about this. It's more than reading now, Jiho said. It's real. It's happening. You get to choose what kind of person you want to be. That's what individual thought means. The door to the observation deck slowly opened. Velmoth emerged, its body language different from before, less rigid, more uncertain, more alive. I choose, it said simply, to stay. The next 48 hours passed in tense preparation. Commander Taeyang contacted Coalition Command and requested backup. Ambassador Siwoo worked frantically to negotiate with the Quarian Collective, trying to find a peaceful solution. Dr. Hana set up a special area where the 7 affected Quarians could meet and talk, sharing their experiences with each other. Jiho watched as his partner changed before his eyes. Velmoth spent hours with the other Quarians, discussing human concepts in ways their species never had before. They debated. They disagreed. They formed individual opinions. It was something the collective had never allowed. It's strange, Velmoth told Jiho during one of their conversations. I always thought the collective gave me strength, but now I realize it also gave me limits. I never questioned anything. I never wondered if there might be different ways to think. And now? Jiho asked. Now I cannot stop wondering. About everything. Why does music make me feel something I have no word for? Why do I find myself drawn to certain colors? Why did learning about Yuna change me so much? Velmoth's mandibles moved in a new way, something that might have been a smile. These questions have no logical answers, yet they seem more important than any logical question I ever asked before. The Quarian diplomatic vessel arrived exactly on schedule. It was a massive ship, dark and angular, designed with the same efficiency that governed all Quarian technology. Commander Taeyang received their transmission in the command center. The collective's representative appeared on screen. It looked like all Quarians looked, identical and precise. Commander Taeyang, we have come for our corrupted units. Deliver them immediately. I'm afraid I can't do that, the commander replied calmly. Those individuals have requested asylum. Under coalition law, I must grant it. They are not individuals. They are malfunctions. You do not understand what you are protecting. I understand that they're sentient beings who want to live. They want to live with errors in their thinking. This is not life. This is suffering. We offer them mercy. Commander Taeyang leaned forward. Why don't we ask them what they want? He signaled to Jiho, who brought Velmoth to the command center. The Quarian stood before the screen, facing its people's representative. Velmoth Unit, the representative said. You have been infected with illogical thinking patterns. We can repair you. We can return you to the collective. You will be whole again. I am whole now, Velmoth replied. More whole than I ever was. You are confused. Humans have contaminated your mind with their chaos. You believe you are thinking independently, but you are simply malfunctioning. Perhaps, Velmoth admitted. I am confused often now. I have doubts. I have questions with no answers. But I also have something I never had before. I have wonder. I have curiosity. I have the ability to change my mind. The representative's mandibles clicked in what might have been frustration. These are not benefits. These are symptoms of corruption. To you, maybe. But I have studied human civilization. They built their entire species on these symptoms. They create art from confusion. They find strength in doubt. They grow through change. The collective taught me that logic is supreme, but humans showed me that logic is just one tool among many. You speak like them now. You are already lost. No, Velmoth said firmly. I am found. For the first time in my life, I am thinking my own thoughts, making my own choices. I am becoming an individual." The representative was silent for a long moment. Then it said, "You were warned about humans. We were all warned. They are dangerous, not because they are strong, but because they are infectious. Their chaos spreads, their illogic corrupts, and now you are proof of this danger." Ambassador Siwu stepped forward. "If I may speak, the Quarian Collective and humanity have been allies for 5 years. This is the first serious conflict between our species. I believe we can find a solution that respects both cultures." "There is only one solution," the representative stated. "Remove the corruption, sterilize the infection, return our units, or face the consequences." Commander Taeyang stood his ground. "I have 12 coalition warships on their way to this station. They'll be here in 6 hours. I don't want conflict with your people, but I won't hand over refugees who came to us for help." The transmission ended abruptly. The Quarian vessel held position outside the station, waiting. Dr. Hannah approached Jiho as he stood at the observation window, watching the alien ship. "This is quite a mess you've made." "I know," Jiho said quietly. "I just talked about a girl I miss. How did that turn into an interstellar incident?" "Because you talked about her to someone who'd never encountered human emotional complexity before. You showed Velmoth that consciousness could work differently than it had been taught. That's revolutionary. That's dangerous." Dr. Hannah smiled slightly. "That's also kind of beautiful." "I should call her," Jiho said suddenly. "Yuna, she should know she accidentally caused all this." "That might actually help," Dr. Hannah agreed. "Let Velmoth meet her. Let the collective's representatives see her. Maybe if they understand that she's real, that human complexity isn't some abstract corruption, but an actual way of being, they'll reconsider." It took 3 hours to establish a long-range communication link with Earth. When Yuna's face finally appeared on the screen, Jiho felt his chest tighten. She looked the same as in his photo, but seeing her move and smile was different, more real. "Jiho?" She seemed confused. "It's 3 in the morning here. Is everything okay?" "Not exactly," he admitted. "I need your help with something weird. Really weird." He explained the situation as simply as he could. A diplomatic crisis, 7 aliens having existential crises, all because he told stories about her. Yuna listened with growing amazement. "Let me get this straight," she said finally. "Aliens are having mental breakdowns because you told them I like rainy days but not getting wet?" "That's part of it, yes." She laughed. It was a real laugh, the kind Jiho remembered from their time together. "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And kind of flattering, I think?" "There's someone who wants to meet you," Jiho said. He turned the screen so Velmoth could see it. "This is my partner, Velmoth." The Quarian approached slowly, studying Yuna through the screen. "You are Yuna." "I am," she confirmed, looking curious rather than afraid. "You're a Quarian?" "I was." "I am uncertain what I am now. You have changed me." "I changed you? I don't even know you." "Jiho told me about you. About your contradictions. About how you contain impossible things. I tried to understand logically and it broke something inside me. Or fixed something. I still cannot decide which." Yuna smiled gently. "I'm just a person. I'm not special." "That is what makes it so profound," Velmoth said. "You are ordinary. Most humans are like you, containing these paradoxes. Your entire species exists in a state that should be impossible. Yet you thrive, you create, you love. You are proof that the collective's understanding of reality is incomplete." "Wow," Yuna said softly. "That's a lot of pressure to put on someone who just likes rainy days." The Quarian representative's voice suddenly cut through the speakers. "This is the human? This is what caused the corruption?" "She didn't cause anything," Jiho said firmly. "She's just herself. That's all she's ever been." The representative appeared on a split screen beside Yuna. The contrast was striking, the alien's perfect symmetry and rigid posture against Yuna's relaxed, natural presence. "You appear ordinary," the representative observed. "Thanks," Yuna replied, sounding amused. "Yet your existence threatens our civilization. The collective cannot comprehend you. We cannot predict you. You change your mind. You feel conflicting emotions. You contain chaos." "Yeah, I guess I do," Yuna admitted. "But that's just being human. We're all messy like that." "How do you function? How does your species survive with such disorder in your thinking?" Yuna thought about this. "I think the disorder is the point. We change because the world changes. We feel conflicting things because life is complicated. We contain contradictions because reality itself is contradictory. Maybe your collective is too rigid. Maybe you need some chaos to really be alive." There was a long silence. Then the representative said something unexpected. "I wish to understand, but the collective forbids individual understanding. We must all understand together, or not at all." "That sounds lonely," Yuna said simply. "Lonely. We have no word for lonely. We are never alone. We are always connected. Being connected isn't the same as not being lonely," Yuna pointed out. "You can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely if you can't be yourself." Velmoth stepped closer to the screen. "That is what I learned. The collective gave me connection, but it never gave me self. Jiho's stories about Yuna taught me that I could be an individual, that I could think my own thoughts, that loneliness might be the price of freedom, but freedom is worth that price." The Quarian vessel suddenly powered down its weapons. Ambassador Siwoo's voice came through, excited. "Commander, I'm getting new signals from their ship. Multiple signals. Individual Quarians are breaking from the collective communication protocol. They're talking independently." On screen, the representative seemed to tremble. "What is happening to us?" "You're thinking for yourselves," Dr. Hana said. "Just like Velmoth did. Just like humans do every day." The next hours were chaos of a different kind. Not violent chaos, but the chaos of change. 6 Quarians from the diplomatic vessel requested asylum. Then 12, then 20. The collective's representatives tried to restore order, but the cascade had begun. Once a few Quarians questioned the collective, others followed. In the end, Ambassador Siwoo negotiated a compromise. A research station would be established, a place where Quarians could come to study human culture and complexity. Those who wanted to return to the collective could do so. Those who wanted to explore individual thought would be protected. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a beginning. A week later, Jiho found Velmoth in the observation deck again. The Quarian was painting, using manipulators adapted to hold brushes. The painting was abstract, swirls of color that seemed to represent rain. "You're getting good at that," Jiho observed. "I am terrible at this," Velmoth corrected, "but I enjoy it. That is enough. The new research station opens next month. Are you going to work there?" "Yes. I will teach other Quarians about human complexity. I will tell them about Yuna, about rain and sunsets and contradictions, about how the impossible can be real." Jiho smiled. "She said you can call her if you want. She's curious about you too." "I would like that." Velmoth added another stroke to the painting. "Jiho, do you know what is most interesting about humans?" "What?" "You do not see yourselves as special. Yuna called herself ordinary, but you are miracles. Every one of you. You are walking contradictions that somehow work. You are chaos that creates order. You are proof that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than pure logic suggests." "That's very poetic," Jiho said. "I learned that from human literature. Poetry is another paradox. Structured chaos. Meaningful nonsense. I think I am beginning to understand it." They stood together, human and Quarian, looking out at the stars. Somewhere on those stars, a new way of thinking was spreading, all because a security officer talked about a girl he missed. A girl who liked rain but not getting wet. A girl who was strong and vulnerable, logical and emotional, changing and constant. A girl who was, in the end, perfectly ordinarily human, and because of that, extraordinary. "Thank you, Jiho," Velmoth said quietly, "for telling me about Yuna, for breaking me and remaking me, for showing me that sanity is overrated when insanity looks like freedom." "You're welcome, partner," Jiho replied. "Anytime you want to hear more paradoxes, just ask." Velmoth's mandibles clicked in what was definitely a laugh now. "I think I have enough paradoxes to process for a lifetime. But yes, tell me more anyway. That is the human way, is it not? To have enough but always want more?" "Yeah," Jiho agreed, smiling. "That's exactly the human way.